McGuffey's Fifth Eclectic Reader, Revised Edition. McGuffey's Fifth Reader. 1. The Good Reader. It is told of Frederick the Great, King of Prussia, that as he was seated one day in his private room, a written petition was brought to him with the request that it should be immediately read. The king had just returned from hunting, and the glare of the sun or some other cause had so dazzled his eyes that he found it difficult to make out a single word of the writing. His private secretary happened to be absent, and the soldier who brought the petition could not read. There was a page or favorite boy servant waiting in the hall, and upon him the king called. The page was a son of one of the noblemen of the court, but proved to be a very poor reader. In the first place, he did not articulate distinctly. He huddled his words together in the utterance, as if they were syllables of one long word which he must get through with as speedily as possible. His pronunciation was bad, and he did not modulate his voice so as to bring out the meaning of what he read. Every sentence was uttered with a dismal monotony of voice, as if it did not differ in any respect from that which preceded it. "Stop!" said the king, impatiently. "Is it an auctioneer's list of goods to be sold that you are hurrying over? Send your companion to me." Another page, who stood at the door, now entered, and to him the king gave the petition. The second page began by hemming and clearing his throat in such an affected manner that the king jokingly asked him whether he had not slept in the public garden with the gate open the night before. The second page had a good share of self-conceit, however, and so was not greatly confused by the king's jest. He determined that he would avoid the mistake which his comrade had made, so he commenced reading the petition slowly and with great formality, emphasizing every word and prolonging the articulation of every syllable. But his manner was so tedious that the king cried out, "Stop! Are you reciting a lesson in the elementary sounds? Out of the room! But no, stay. Send me that little girl who is sitting there by the fountain." The girl thus pointed out by the king was a daughter of one of the laborers employed by the royal gardener, and she had come to help her father weed the flower-beds. It chanced that, like many of the poor people in Prussia, she had received a good education. She was somewhat alarmed when she found herself in the king's presence, but took courage when the king told her that he only wanted her to read for him, as his eyes were weak. Now Ernestine, for this was the name of the little girl, was fond of reading aloud, and often many of the neighbors would assemble at her father's house to hear her. Those who could not read themselves would come to her also with their letters from distant friends or children, and she thus formed the habit of reading various sorts of handwriting promptly and well. The king gave her the petition, and she rapidly glanced through the opening lines to get some idea of what it was about. As she read, her eyes began to glisten and her breast to heave. "What is the matter?" asked the king. "Don't you know how to read?" "Oh, yes, sire," she replied, addressing him with the title usually applied to him. "I will now read it, if you please." The 2 pages were about to leave the room. "Remain," said the king. The little girl began to read the petition. It was from a poor widow, whose only son had been drafted to serve in the army, although his health was delicate, and his pursuits had been such as to unfit him for military life. His father had been killed in battle, and the son had a strong desire to become a portrait painter. The writer told her story in a simple, concise manner that carried to the heart a belief of its truth.